Hiya, I'm Baileys, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be talking about Irish wildlife and why it's underrated. Okay, so Irish wildlife is a bit unique in a couple of ways. At first glance, our biodiversity looks a bit underwhelming though, especially when you compare it to the UK mainland and continental Europe. We appear to be very unimpressive. I'll show this disparity with numbers by comparing animal group species counts for the UK and Ireland, as they are both islands relatively close to one another in the Atlantic. First up, let's compare land mammals. The UK has 56 land mammals while Ireland has 26. Both these numbers include bat species. Marine mammal diversity is a lot closer, but the UK still has a bigger number. They have 30, Ireland has 27. The UK has 6 native reptiles, Ireland has 1. There are over 600 bird species in the UK. Ireland has about 400. The UK has 7 amphibian species. Ireland has 3. Oh, here's a big number. Ireland has approximately 12,000 insect species. That's an impressive number to be sure. Or is it? The UK has over 27,000. Yeah, our numbers aren't too impressive by the looks of it, are they? Surely, being an island, we have a few unique animals, yeah? No, we actually don't have many, and by not many, we have one. The Irish hare. We have a good few unique plant species at least. Well, kind of. Nobody knows exactly how many are unique species because plant genetics are stupid complicated, and the term species is nearly meaningless. But hey, it's something. After these depressing number comparisons, you might be asking, why is there such a difference? Is this a case of Ireland being too small to hold as many species as the UK? Not likely. The islands of Hawaii have a much smaller landmass total, but contain an insane number of species when compared to Ireland. Is it because we're an isolated island? Again, not likely. The Galapagos Islands have very high biodiversity and are way more isolated when compared to Ireland. So what is it? Why do so few species want to settle here? There are 3 main reasons: geological history, climate, and disturbance. Geological history, for all my rock monkeys out there. Ireland is an ancient land. Our oldest rocks are from over 1.7 billion years ago. A lot of geological activity has taken place on this island since its sacred formation, including the fusion of 2 landmasses to form the island as we know it today. Geologists love this place. Seriously, I went through college alongside many and did geology as part of my course, so I can say this with absolute certainty. The issue is that all this activity petered out about 500 million years ago, so weathering and erosion have softened our landscape. No really tall mountain ranges or dramatic valleys in Ireland. We have some great cliffs though, thanks to the millennia of erosion, so that's something. This lack of altitude and landscape variation means there is not a lot of habitat separation for speciation to occur in ecological communities. This basically means that there is less driving force for evolution and adaptation to occur here. Another consequence of our general low-lying landscape is that Ireland has been underwater for a lot of history. It's why we have so much limestone. We used to be a huge reef. Kinda makes it hard for land plants and animals to establish here if we are under the sea though. Crazy, I know. Over time, Ireland has moved further north thanks to continental drift. This means that it became more exposed to Ice Age influences. Most of Ireland was completely covered in glaciers for the past few ice ages, and this has drastically sculpted our landscape. Not much room for animals and plants to establish if the place is covered in glaciers for thousands of years. During these ice ages, Ireland was mostly a stop-off point for animals travelling during their migrations. And then, when we exited the last ice age, we were cut off from the UK and thus mainland Europe before much could make it here. We've never had snakes native to Ireland. Ever. Because by the time snakes established and dispersed around Britain after the last ice age, Ireland was already cut off by the Irish Sea. St. Patrick took credit for this, which is why I call him a lying charlatan. Same thing happened with moles and several other species. They didn't get here in time, unfortunately. What did establish here in time still had a new land to colonise with many environmental and climatic challenges to get through, as well as some advantages over their British and mainland relatives. Next up, the Irish climate. Ireland's climate is notoriously wet, windy and mild. This is thanks to the Atlantic Ocean and the Gulf Stream. We take the brunt of the Atlantic weather coming from the northwest for the UK and mainland Europe, making us very rainy and keeps us relatively cool during the summer when compared to our neighbours. The Gulf Stream also prevents us from getting too cold in the winter, keeping us mild throughout. This temperate environment means that there isn't much diversity of climate across the island, so there is less need for species to diversify and adapt to variations in temperature beyond the seasons. Our weather conditions are also relatively stable, and this stability means that any organism that establishes itself here has plenty of viable habitat to adapt to if they can work within our climate. Ireland was a safe haven for many more temperate species as the rest of Europe became more warm and variable through the centuries post-Ice Age. But where are these creatures now? Disturbance, aka, uh-oh, here come the humans. It's the same thing that happened to almost every ecosystem around the world, unfortunately. Humans and disturbance. Mass extinctions and deforestation occurred around the same time humans began colonising Ireland around 12,500 years ago. Humans changed the landscape with settlements and agriculture, and altered ecosystems through hunting and the introduction of livestock species. Many species became more and more isolated through deforestation. They had to deal with much less space and much smaller populations. They also had to compete with humans and their livestock directly for resources. Many could not cope with this. Many who managed to cling on were dealt the final blow from colonisers from other countries as they invaded or emigrated to Ireland. The British famously finished off the last remaining wolves in Ireland during the late 1700s. Sad, but the wolves were most likely not going to last much longer anyway because of the increasing pressure to convert the island towards agriculture. This agricultural revolution is responsible for the extinction of many predatory birds in Ireland as they were shot by farmers and hunters or poisoned. So, that's basically why we have lower biodiversity than you would expect. If you have any questions or, God forbid, corrections to add to my quick summary, feel free to put them in the comments. I had to learn all about this in uni, so I am more than happy to use some of the stuff I had to study to help others understand the topic. Okay, Baileys, we get it. Ireland's biodiversity is underwhelming, so why do you say it's underrated? Explain the second half of your title. I was getting to that, hypothetical viewer. Thank you for your concern. Bear in mind that I am, of course, very biased in this statement, but Irish wildlife is underrated. There is something about it that makes it so much more special than other places I've visited and studied in. I'll start off with Irish birds. We have so many iconic birds here, from eagles to puffins, all of which are relatively easy to find and visit to watch because of our small island nature. Seabirds, like puffins and gannets, have been on the same cliffs and coastal islands for ages, literally hundreds if not thousands of years. They have been interacting with fishermen here for over 12,000 years. Same with our resident crows. Many crow species still roost in our castles and old stone buildings that were built, again, hundreds, some thousands of years ago. There is a castle tower where I live that is held up by ivy and jackdaw nests. That is so cool to me. Ravens still soar over our ancient mountains with their iconic calls. Our crows share history amongst themselves, like us, still remembering what farms once hunted them decades ago. They have adapted to us completely, changing the island, and still thrive here alongside us. They are adaptable little dinos. Our sea life is enthralling. I have witnessed some incredible events take place in the seas here, including several pods of dolphins of at least 3 species work together with flocks of gannets and seagulls to hunt a massive shoal of fish. There were dozens of dolphins there, including babies. I've seen porpoises do something similar with seals and seagulls to trap fish in a small inlet. I've seen 2 separate pods of Rousseau's dolphins come together and socialise and play, all from a single peninsula in Ireland. There were whales spotted a couple of kilometres north of me at the time. Some even surprised some kayakers in a viral video you may have seen from Kerry. We have a pod of orcas that frequent our coast to hunt our plethora of dolphins and porpoises that flock our shores each year. We are a very important coastline for many species of shark, including my favourite shark, the basking shark. They come here in spring and summer to feed, breed, and give birth. I have seen a juvenile feeding in a small inlet, again on the same peninsula, and it is one of my most precious memories. I know it was a juvenile because it was only only, about 3 to 4 metres long, which is small for a basking shark, I assure you. There was a group of basking sharks filmed feeding and interacting with each other this summer in Kilkee and another off Achill Island. These creatures are so amazing and big. And again, it's not just basking sharks that use Ireland's coast as a breeding ground and nursery. Ireland has a vast coral reef running along our west coast that is vital for many shark species and other fish species. Ireland's sea life has been under a lot of stress from fishing in recent times, mainly thanks to international trawlers, so it is so nice to see that it is still present and easily viewable for those who look. And let's not forget our lands. We have thriving populations of deer roaming most of the country. Visit any national park and I'm sure you'll come across a herd of them. We have some amazing natural landscapes and forests, even a couple of unique ones like the Burren. The Burren is where you'll find many of our unique flora and some impressive rare fauna like our viviparous lizards. Viviparous means they give live birth, as well as many colourful beetles and butterflies. Our sand dunes are some of the most impressive, if I do say so myself, having formed over 5,000 years ago. We even have a unique habitat type called mockairs, which are heavily protected and rich in species. Just because Ireland doesn't have as many species doesn't mean we aren't as impressive in wildlife terms when compared to our neighbours. Quality over quantity, I say. We are even trying to reintroduce animals back into Ireland, like many birds of prey that were hunted to extinction around 100 years ago, like the golden eagle and red-tailed kite. Several birds of prey have successfully recolonised already, like the buzzard and even the white-tailed sea eagle, thanks to conservation work and breeding programmes. Of course, like the rest of the world, Ireland will have to continue to face some great and increasing threats to its biodiversity, like global warming and intensive agriculture. Hopefully, we can move to a more eco-friendly model to offset the impacts and protect our wee island and its inhabitants. In conclusion, Ireland has impressive wildlife despite our unimpressive biodiversity. Thank you for listening to me ramble about stuff I learned in uni and me gushing about how much I love Irish wildlife. I really hope you enjoyed it.